the mealtime video here with me, Tenora, at Oxford Street Montessori. So you're watching this video today because either your children attend Oxford Street Montessori or you are interested in the Montessori approach to mealtime. This video is all about mealtime. So, okay, what are we going to include? So we are going to talk about setting the table, clearing the table, and expectations surrounding that, and some ways that you can set up your space to really help support your child in those things. We're going to talk about what to expect during mealtime, or should I say mealtime expectations for your toddlers and preschoolers. This really could apply to toddlers and preschoolers. We are going to talk about what kitchen supplies I put out for my students and some things that you might consider putting in your kitchen for your children. And then we're going to talk about some lunch ideas at the very end to give you, mostly to give parents an idea of what to send their children if their children attend a program. This is a big one for children, for parents, that they get a little bit, sorry, someone was walking by, it distracted me. Parents get a little caught up on the idea of what to send my child to eat. So let's dive right in. Okay, the first thing we're going to talk about is table setting and clearing. So when you are setting up your space to allow your children to be more independent in the table setting process, you really want to think about everything they need, right? So what are the things that we need to eat a meal? We need a plate, maybe a bowl. We need a placemat. We need silverware, napkins, and probably something to use to drink. All of that stuff is right here in this cabinet. So placemats and a plate. In the very bottom drawer here, which it's kind of hard for you to see though, is our napkins, and then a spot for forks and a spot for spoons. And there are bibs in here, and I use just old cut up shirts. These are, my husband is a runner, and so he gets a lot of shirts for running. And so what I do is I just cut off the sleeves, cut off the bottom, and they make a really, really good, like basically zero cost bib that you can use. And they get, because children are messy, right? So they like to put these shirts on and off. So I have a whole drawer of bibs. And then in this cabinet over here, there are bowls, and then off to the side, there are some drinking cups. The children can access everything they need to set the table. You could even just use one little cabinet for your child if you have a cabinet short down to the ground. Clear it out, put away your cleaning supplies, put them somewhere high so you don't have to put locks on the cabinets. And down below, put your items for your children. What about cleanup, right? So you will want to have a place to allow your child independence in clearing up their dishes. So here at Oxford Street, we have some dirty dishes bins. I literally just set them on the ground. They're little bins, and I actually didn't get them out. That's okay. You know what a bin looks like. So it's a little bin. 2 bins, one for the placemats and one for the dishes. Set them out right before lunch. The children actually do it themselves. We keep them under the sink. The children know right where they are. They get 2 bins out for the dirty dishes, one for the dishes, one for the placemats. They set them out, and then later in the day we wash the dishes. Think of ways in your house right now that you can start to have your child involved in the process rather than doing it for them. So the next thing related to setting and clearing is that you'll want to set up a clear procedure for your children to follow. So I have everything set up from left to right and top to bottom. So let's peek back in here again. So the first thing that you need to set a table is a placemat. So that is the very first thing here on the top shelf. So then the next thing that goes out is a plate. So that's, the plates are next. And then the drawer right to the left of that, or to the right of that, is where they would get their napkins and the forks and spoons because that goes out next. You put a napkin out first, and then a fork and a spoon, and then all the way to the end are the cups, the drinking cups. And that's all you need for toddlers: a placemat, a plate, a napkin, eating utensils, a fork and a spoon, and a drinking cup. There are also bowls here. We use these for snack, and we use them for if your child has soup or yogurt or applesauce or some sort of saucy thing that we would put into, or something that is easier to eat out of a bowl, like peas or beans. Those are oftentimes easier because you kind of have to like use the bowl to scoop them up. Typically, it takes children here anywhere from 1 week to a month to really get that procedure down. It can take longer. It really just depends on your child and how you have the space set up. The next thing to talk about with regard to table setting is the expectation. So I would say you want to think about this and talk about it with your partner or your significant other, or if there's anybody who watches your children outside of a daycare or preschool, who would have their own procedures and expectations, maybe like a grandparent or a nanny or somebody like that. So here in Oxford Street, the children are responsible for getting their own dishes and clearing their own dishes every time they eat. So every time they have a snack and when we have lunch, they have to take care of their own dishes. Now, of course, I'm there to support them and say, oh, well, what do you need next? Or, oh, what's the next step? Or, it looks like there's a bowl still on the table. I wonder whose that is. Where does it go? You know, stuff like that. So you will still need to support their kind of journey towards remembering every step. They are toddlers after all, and they get really excited and move on to the next thing pretty quickly. Try to find a time of day, at least one meal a day, that your children are responsible for getting out and setting the table and clearing their own dishes. And then work on kind of like building that up so that they are doing it for every meal. So that wraps up the table setting and table clearing procedures. The next thing we're going to talk about is mealtime expectations. This is a tough one, I think. So mostly for mealtime expectations for toddlers, it's simple expectations, but getting there can be kind of challenging. So the expectation would be that they sit at the table to eat. Something that we don't really recommend is allowing children to eat anywhere that they want. The general idea here is that adults decide what is being eaten, where it gets eaten, and when it happens. And then the child decides how much they want to eat. So that's really the very basic rule to keep in mind when you're thinking of what type of expectations should take place during a meal or a snack. Anytime a child is eating, it is definitely at a table. We don't let children walk around with food. First of all, that's how children choke on food. Most of the time when a child chokes on something, it's because they were distracted by something else, or they were eating while doing something else, like running through the house or running through the yard or something like that. Second of all, that's how the room gets even messier. How long should a toddler be expected to sit at a table to eat? Well, I would say that typically a toddler, and we're talking 16 months up to 3 years here, is about 20 minutes. So your toddler should be able to, at some point, sit at the table for 20 minutes. Now, if your child is a 1.5-year-old right now, or maybe they're even approaching 2 years or even more, and they're not sitting at the table for 20 minutes, it's okay. Something to recognize in yourself is that maybe you're not giving your child enough credit for being able to do this. They are capable of sitting in a chair for 20 minutes. I promise you, I've worked with so many children at this point, and they may not be able to do it the first time you expect it, or the second time, or the third time. However, when you set an expectation and you are firm with that expectation, they will follow through, and they can do it. It starts out where they really struggle, where they get up a lot, and that's okay. We just bring them back to the table. Hey, it's mealtime, come sit down. Hey, it looks like you're still eating. Why don't you come sit down? Oh, are you finished eating? Okay, I can see, it looks like you're done eating because you're walking around. Are you done, or would you like to come eat more? So there's different language that you can use to really support your child in this. Something that really helps with children is having a table that's low to the ground. So I actually sawed the legs off of my table so that the table is low to the ground. This is not something every family is going to want to do. So if you don't want to bring your table down to the child's level, like we have done, your dining table, get a small table. They're called weaning tables. Get a table that's low to the ground and have that be where your child eats their meals. If you want to join your child, eat at that table with them. You can bring them up to your table. Just be sure to understand that children feel way more comfortable when they can touch the ground with their feet. They are more likely to stay at the table when they are sitting at a table that is their height. So keep that in mind when you're setting up your space and setting the expectation for mealtime. Another kind of side note here would be that I don't use high chairs. I don't use any sort of straps. The children here know that they have a place to sit. They sit at a table on their own. They can pull the chair out, they can push the chair in, and they feel very empowered to do these things. And they can sit for long periods of time. They end up, honestly, by the time you're 3 years old, you can sit at the table way longer than 20 minutes. Another thing I'll say is that it's not always 20 minutes straight. So what you might find is that a child needs to get up to go to the bathroom, or get up to get some water, or get up to pick something up off the ground. So what we're saying here is the 20-minute expectation is sort of like a toddler doesn't need to sit and have a 45-minute meal like adults like to do, right? A toddler is more going to be able to sit and enjoy something and stay here focused on this meal for about 20 minutes. That might include getting up to get a glass of water, getting up to pick up a strawberry that fell on the ground. So keep in mind that your toddler does need to move. Give them the opportunity to move, and they'll be more likely to be interested in staying in the chair for longer. Again, to review, it is the adult says what they're eating, when they're eating, and where it happens, right, at a table. And the child decides how much. When you follow this sort of expectation, children are building a healthy relationship to food, healthy eating habits. So what's next? Okay, so toddler kitchen supplies. This is going to make the mealtime procedure really simple if you are getting them ready to slice strawberries or peel an egg or whatever it is. This is the Raskog from IKEA. On the top, I have apple slicer, a masher, a whisk, and I have these crinkle cutters, okay? They're not too sharp, but they are sharp enough that they could cut. These are certainly safe for a toddler to use. They are great because they don't require a back and forth saw motion. They are just a chop. The back and forth saw motion is more complex. And then I also have some spreading knives. I usually wait until the child would request a knife, or if we're doing a spreading activity, I would put this out. And then I also have up here some metal straws for children who want to use a straw. So I also have cutting boards here. I have 4 cutting boards because we oftentimes will do kind of like a group activity, a group snack activity cutting. And then on the very bottom here are their cups. I would definitely recommend having some kitchen supplies out for your child. You don't want to set up your house like a classroom, right? And something that I've tried to do here at Oxford Street, and I continue to do, is I want this place to feel homey. The space is set up as though if there was one child here. Okay, so the last thing we're going to talk about today is lunch ideas. This is a big topic. I'm not going to go super in depth here, but I am going to give you a little bit of a rundown. The first thing you want to do with anything that you're doing with your children is keep it simple. Oftentimes I get a lot of parents that really get a lot of anxiety, or maybe are confused, fearful, uncertain about what foods to send their children with to eat. So what I will say to this is I've seen so many meals. The most successful meals are the ones that are kept simple. What I would say is you want to think of a protein, a green, and a fruit. 3 items. Use those 3 items as your base for setting up your meals. I'm stressing putting a green food in your children's meals almost every time. We want to get our children and ourselves used to seeing something green on the plate. Now, does that mean they're going to eat it every time? Not necessarily. But the longer that you have this on their plate, years and years and years and years, they are going to get used to it. They are going to eat it. It makes those eating habits easier to follow through with when it's consistent. So keep it simple. Protein, green, fruit. Send food they know and love. Sending a new food when they're outside of the home is risky because, first of all, I don't know if they've tried that food or not. So the way that you would introduce a new food, you have to be really gentle with the way that you introduce foods for the first time to a child. And I would not know that they're trying something new for the first time. If it's coming in their lunch, I'm assuming they've eaten that food already. Avoid new items, protein, green, fruit. I'm just reading through my notes here. Yes. Okay, so what are some foods? Would be some foods that toddlers love. I'm not going to get a big list here, just a few things. Peas, toddlers love peas. Beans, soups, crackers, yogurts, applesauce, all fruit. These are things that are so easy to send. Some children really like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I personally don't. One of the most simple and kind of coolest lunches that I saw when I used to work at the other preschool, it was the same meal every single day with slight variations. It was some sort of nut butter and jelly sandwich, yogurt, and some fruit. And it was 3 items. The child got the same lunch every single day for all 3 years that the child came to the school. And they were fine with it. It was something that was comfortable. They knew what to expect when they opened up their lunch. They knew how to unpack this lunch because they did it every single day for 3 years. There's a student that I've had for the past few years that their meal has been generally the same every day as well. It's been peas, crackers, fruit, and pepperoni. And there has been some variation. Sometimes instead of peas, it'll be soup or beans. Sometimes it'll be some sort of leftover. But generally speaking, it's always, kind of like a main dish, like peas or beans or soup or something. fruit, and did I say crackers? Crackers and a pepperoni. Make your meals simple. I'm telling you, just send your children with the same food every day. It makes it so easy. Now, you don't have to do that. For instance, I have a student who brings their leftovers every day. So whatever was cooked the meal before or the night before goes into their lunch the next day. But then they always have the same things. They always also have a fruit and also have usually a yogurt or something that's on the side as well. So just think about how you can make things really simple for yourself so that when you're going, first of all, when you're going grocery shopping, you know exactly what to get. And then when you're preparing your child's lunch, it's just the same and it becomes habit. And then on the flip side of that, when your child is opening up their lunchbox, they know what to expect. Please keep in mind, this is particularly a note for those whose students are at my school. I warm things up on a stovetop or in a toaster oven. I don't have a microwave. And children do like to have their food warmed up sometimes, so you can definitely send the food that is being warmed up. Please leave me a little note if your child isn't talking yet, because I don't know what they like warmed up and not warmed up. If I don't see like a little sticky note saying, please warm me up or something like that, I'm not gonna know to warm it up. And so that's definitely something that you'll wanna keep in mind. I have a student who wants their peas warmed up every day. Oh, well, not every day, sometimes they don't. Okay, so containers. This is the last thing we're gonna talk about. And thanks for sticking with me this whole time. I know this video is a little longer. Meal times are very complex. Eating with children is very complex. So, you know, there's a lot to get to. There's a lot to talk about. So I hope that you're taking it in, you're digesting this information, and you're able to see how you can apply it in your home with your children. Okay, so let's talk about containers before we wrap this up. Okay, so I just wanted to show you a couple containers and a couple things that we do here because it helps when you're packing lunches. So the first thing I'll show you is that we use these metal plates. These are great. They're really easy to clean. So I really like having these separators for toddlers because toddlers are learning how to sort. And sorting food is such an awesome thing for them to do. And it's an easy way to include a little bit of sorting into their day every day. So this should make it really easy for you to know what to send. I would say send 3 things in your child's lunch. If you're worried about the quantity or not having enough food, I will let you know if it seems like your child is looking for more food. I always have more food here if I need to supplement their meal with maybe a banana or something like that. So don't worry too much about whether or not your child is eating enough. I will communicate that with you as a parent. And then they can also get a bowl out. Like I said, some foods are easier to eat in a bowl. If your child doesn't come to my program, I would talk to the program that your child does go to and figure out kind of like what their mealtime looks like to help you decide what to send, and even like down to what dishes they're using. Okay, so I want to show you the lunchbox that I got from my daughter, and I want to show you some other options as well. Here's Willow. She's going to help me for the rest of the video. When you're picking out containers for your child for lunch, please have them try to open the container themselves and think about how they're going to open it with food inside of it. And so you can include a lunch box that has different containers with 3 different items, 1, 2, 3. This would be perfect for a child's lunch. This small container containing their 3 items would also work. Whatever you want to do, however you want to pack their lunch, truly, ultimately, it is up to you. You get to decide what to send for your child. All the food that they don't eat goes back into their lunch so that you can see how much they ate for lunch. So I hope that you got a lot out of this video and this helps you know what meals are going to be like here at Oxford Street, maybe give you some ideas for meal times if your child goes to a different program. and mealtime procedures that you can start to implement in your own home to support your child's quest towards independence. Because independent children are happy children, aren't they? Yes, they are. Okay. Mwah. All right. We'll see you in another video. Bye.